As promised in the Recasting Black Panther Without T'Challa video, this video details the Black Panther film that needs to be made. One that centers around Shuri, that pulls from the comic lore, but also works within the framework of the previous films. First, let's get something out of the way. The story that I'm about to describe is a blend of storylines and elements taken from the comics and applied within the logic of the Marvel film storylines, specifically regarding the appearances and involvement of Black Panther and Wakanda that we've seen so far. By elements, I'm talking about Shuri, MBaku, Zawahiri, and another character yet to be introduced in the Marvel films that I'll reveal towards the end of the video. So, let's get into it. As we know from the comics, in the Dark Reign storyline, Shuri took over as Black Panther and Queen of Wakanda for a period of time when T'Challa was injured. Speculation at this point has been regarding how they'll write T'Challa's death, injury, or absence into the film storyline. In the Dark Reign storyline, it was a result of a clash with Dr. Doom. But for the movie, I think that it should be tied to Zawahiri, the powerful Wakandan sorcerer. Why? Because all the lead up is like the perfect alley-oop. In the first Black Panther, it was well established how technologically advanced Wakanda is. Well, Zawahiri shuns technology in favor of the old ways of magic, a culture discarded by Wakanda long ago. Zawahiri is supposed to live on the outer regions of Wakanda, isolated and apart from everyone. This sets up a pre-existing conflict from the very beginning, one personified with Zawahiri representing the old ways and Shuri representing the new. Now, factor in what we know from the first Black Panther, Infinity Wars, and Endgame. T'Challa stated that he wanted to open up Wakanda's borders to the world. He sheltered the Avengers, which invited direct attack of Thanos' forces and ended with T'Challa being snapped away for 5 years. He returned suddenly by mysterious means, which would be interpreted by Zawahiri as magic. Zawahiri would go to see MBaku and sway him back towards the position that T'Challa is not fit to be the ruler and protector of Wakanda. That as a result of his alliances with outsiders, he's exposing Wakanda to dangers that could mean the end of their kingdom and their sovereignty. Now, we know from the first Black Panther film that MBaku already holds a similar position regarding cultural tradition versus technology. The underlying motivation for Zawahiri is access to the vibranium, which is the element that magnifies his magic. Zawahiri sends someone into the kingdom compound in order to steal a portion of vibranium, but the person is discovered. The security forces, unable to capture or contain the thief, call for Black Panther. T'Challa gives chase, the thief leads T'Challa outside the kingdom compound into the outer regions of Wakanda. The farther away from the kingdom compound they get, the weaker T'Challa becomes, until ultimately, when T'Challa catches a thief on the outskirts of Wakanda, they both collapse. Later, T'Challa is returned to the kingdom compound, unconscious and unresponsive. Several weeks go by, and T'Challa is still unconscious. The collective villages that make up Wakanda demand that the trials be held so that a new ruler and Black Panther can be named. If this were the comics, this would be the point where Shuri becomes queen and is named Black Panther for a time. But in the comics, Bast doesn't grant her the power of the Black Panther through the heart-shaped herb. She's initially rejected as Black Panther because of her jealousy of T'Challa. In the film, however, the relationship portrayed between them is different. They're portrayed as very close. Also in the film, Shuri is very petite and skinny, unlike the Shuri in the comics that is very strong, athletic, and agile after a lifetime of training with the intent to one day become Black Panther. But Shuri from the movies is brain, not brawn. She knows that she can't win the trials, and she's concerned about what MBaku will do if he becomes the ruler and Black Panther. So she attends the trials with Queen Mother. Watching him fight, she's both amazed and disturbed by the ease with which he defeats the other contenders. Also, that he's seemingly unfazed by the injuries he sustains during his fights. She records footage and analyzes it later in her lab and finds some irregularities. She preserves a piece of cloth stained with his blood and runs a test on it. She finds traces of a very rare herb in his bloodstream, one that is not cataloged in the extensive database of her computers. So she reaches out to a few people outside of Wakanda for assistance, two of which are Pepper Potts and Riri Williams. Pepper for help in sharing the herbal analysis to other databases. Riri just to touch base with her on her progress on a project that they'd spoken about. Riri had reached out to Shuri when the news first circulated that Shuri would be in charge of the first Wakandan Technology Outreach Center in the US. MBaku eventually defeats all other challengers over the course of several days and is declared the winner. However, later, when he is given the heart-shaped herb, he has an unexpected reaction and flies into a rage. The Dormalaje are called, but they're unable to do anything against his insanely amplified superhuman strength. He begins tearing through the kingdom, so Queen Mother sends out a distress signal to the other tribes, and they respond. MBaku, however, attacks any and everyone indiscriminately, including members of his own tribe. Zawavari conspicuously arrives at the kingdom compound in response to the distress signal supposedly offering to help. MBaku sees Zawavari and becomes even more enraged. He begins to make his way towards Zawavari and Queen Mother, effortlessly clearing a path towards them. But Shuri arrives, wearing the special armor that she began working on as soon as they returned from the battle against Thanos. Though not quite completed, it provides her with the protection and ability to defeat and immobilize MBaku. He struggles against her until he passes out. As they bind and remove him, Shuri reveals that MBaku had been ingesting an ancient Wakandan herb, one from the same family as the heart-shaped herb. But their ancestors stopped using it because of dangerous side effects. Rage, hallucinations, psychotic episodes, blood poisoning, coma, paralysis, even death. Chemically, the compound is very similar to a substance found in T'Challa's bloodstream. Both substances come from a family of herbs found just outside of Wakanda's borders, to the south of where Zawavari lives. Shuri accuses Zawavari of being involved in the drugging of both T'Challa and MBaku. But because neither of them are able to speak, and there's no proof by which to hold him, Zawavari is allowed to leave. However, Shuri promises him that she, her brother, or both will be coming to collect him soon. Of course, if they're not going to recast T'Challa for Black Panther 3, then we're going to end up with the same problem anyway. But the purpose of this story is to provide a showcase for Shuri, which allows her to become a Black Panther in her own right, within the framework of the movie logic that they've established. Now, this is just a rough concept outline, but I think it could be interesting because it sets up a Riri Williams Ironheart storyline, as well as a team-up spin-off of Shuri and Riri. That would be next level. I mean, imagine a dynamic duo of two young, black, female, genius superheroes. We're talking excellence and entertainment. Anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you have an idea for a Shuri storyline, feel free to share that in the comments as well. But that's it for me on this one, and as always, Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.